And 3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this kind of like presentation about how to think about and approach creating visual concept sketches for exhibit design. Probably most of you never really did any type of those type of sketches, the ID or the interior design students. That is totally fine because hey, that's what we have Google or Pinterest for. And it's really good, honestly, because you don't know everything, to just look up some references. So for example here, this looks quite nice. The lines are pretty sketchy, but we totally understand what this space is about. Looks like some sort of a bar or whatever. This is also a really nice sketch. Look how simplified the humans are, but we understand, oh, they're humans. There's a person walking up the stairs. There are people on the second floor. There is a center column. There are TVs. There's a big wall with a human projection on it. And there even the platform has actually a chamfered edge. And all that is done just through very simplistic lines, nothing too complicated. Now, this is something I learned as a student to render it with markers, and that was a great time. But nope, I would never do this today. That's a waste of time. I'd rather do this than via AI or 3D modeling. Actually, properly 3D rendering is being replaced by AI rendering during the ideation phase. This is also really nice. I mean, the person really knows how to illustrate human figures. This is really beautifully done. Maybe at this point, some students might start to freak out a little bit and say, oh, God, I can't really sketch this way. Take a deep breath. I'm not asking you to do this type of sketching. I'm more trying to talk about visual storytelling. Because here's the key. We have to provide sketches when we apply for jobs, when we communicate to clients for various reasons. A sketch is like this, very easy for a client to read and to understand. If we provide a perfect 3D rendering, the client might say, oh, I like this design, your job is done. So that's actually a business psychological reason why we still have to show sketches to clients. But the question is, how can we create sketches like this? One of my professors told me the designer that knows how to take shortcuts the best way is going to be the winner. And honestly, I thought he is an idiot, but he is totally right. So if we take a look at some of these other sketches I have here, look how loose this is. Also, pay attention, there's a plan view and a 3D view. This is also interesting. Oh, maybe a little bit too loose, but you can get an idea of what this is all about. This is actually also really beautiful. You see a plan view, an orthographic view, a perspective view more from the top down, a view more from eye level into it. But you see, these drawings are really great because of all the annotations, all the added details to it. And one thing, let me see, maybe I can find a good, yeah, let's maybe like take this one. One mistake students very often do is they just draw one line. And then these sketches look very empty. But by adding more lines, drawing over things with different pressures or different pens, like a pencil has an underlay, an ink pen has an overlay, you can then create this really nice richness of how a drawing looks. So to create a perfect drawing or something that looks great, you do not have to do something to the perfection of this. No, that's my whole point. This can be perfectly fine. Very good. So these are all, as you see, most of the sketches are perspectively. Oh, this is actually quite cool. Oh, this is actually really perfect also because if you Google how to draw like an architect, it's kind of funny. They will show you that to create architectural drawings on purpose, you jiggle lines. So you can kind of like hide that your lines are kind of crooked. That's one way if you want to do it. But this is a really nice composition of like marker and a little bit of colored pencil, some photos put in there, some human figures put in there. Now, this is something that also is very, very easy to read and understand. Let's see, maybe exhibit design. I just want to go to plan view sketches. Let's see. For example, here now, and this is Death by AutoCAD. This looks super, super boring. But you see again, now you have this architectural drawing and then all the annotations to it. Again, if we do something like this in concepts more freely, that stuff will actually look much better. Let me for a moment go to the Concepts app, and because I know here, there's this image. Nope, go back there. Look at this. You see how crooked the walls and everything is. But this is still really quite nice to look at. Again, and this is one of the strengths of concepts. When you can work with the grid, or you use the grid to snap to, so you draw along the grid, or you create a grid. Let's say each grid is 1 foot, for example, then you know like 20 feet by 20 feet. That's the parameter actually of your exhibit design. Okay, very good. So what I would like you to focus on when you create these types of architectural sketches and concepts, you can experiment with styles. Please feel free to go to Google or go to Pinterest. Very often I misspell it. No, this I did good. Yeah, continue. That's me. Nope. Here I would like to search, let's say, exhibit design sketch. Now we find, interestingly, a lot of the same images actually. But here, now also there, you see a really nice combination of this very quick perspective sketch and then a plan view. So how can you do these sketches pretty fast and also accurate? So that is then where you could go to something like your 3D modeling program. And I have, for example, here as a reference, this office space. This is modeled. I can go to specific views. So I go to this corner. Now this is isometric. I can go to a side view, or I can go to a front view. So whatever program you use is pretty much the same. So we'll go here to this view. Okay. And then I will create a screenshot. In this case here, I will go to export, capture screenshot, no grid, transparent background. The edges, yeah, that's fine. Capture, very good. And then I also go to this isometric view to show you kind of like how this works. There we are. Perfect. So at this point, you might ask myself, hey, Klaus, you can model in Shaper or Blender or SketchUp really fast. So why should I still do the sketching? Now, again, this goes back to later when you apply for jobs, you want to have some sketches in it, but also every software has its limits. And the nice thing about sketching is how quickly we can create variations. So for example, in this case here, I will turn the bookshelf off. Okay. And then I will do a screenshot again. Let's say I go to here and create a screenshot. Now it's time to establish also the scale. Here in Shaper, I will measure these two lines. So there and there, that's a distance of 106 inches. Perfect. So going to concepts now. I will go to this iPad. I will make a new drawing. Then I will go to import and photos. I will bring in this one and I will bring in this one. Very good. And then I will zoom out a little bit. Now again, concepts is vector based. It doesn't matter how big or how small something is. But when we draw with pens, now you don't want to use a ball tip pen to draw on a size that is as big as your house wall because the line will be kind of tiny. So it's still pretty good to at least put in a page as a reference. So 8.5, 11. I go horizontal. There we are. And then what's the drawing scale? So this one thing has to be 106 inches. What I will do first is I will click on lasso, click on the object picker so I can move this image to here. Then I click on this other image. With 2 fingers, I have rotate now turned off. Scale is on. With 2 fingers, I can pinch and then scale this one down. So it kind of like matches. It looks a little bit funny, but that is kind of correct. So 106 inches there. Cool. Okay. I would like to also establish a scale. The maybe easiest way in this case is I will go to a drawing tool, then I will go to the arc and line, rotate on, scale on. With 2 fingers, I rotate, put one over there, and then with the pencil, I press and hold the lower button and bring this to there. And then you see at the bottom 1 to n, set scale, click it. So now 3 inches on the document should be 106 inches in real life. And I establish my scale. That's it. I can switch also to feet and inches if I want. I just like working in inches. It's easier for my brain. Perfect. You also see the measurement is 1 to 34 to 3/4. Essentially what this means now, what I can do, and this is also where the grids come in to be very useful. I will now turn off this paper format to infinite. Why do I do this? Yeah, I know that this can now fit onto a sheet of paper. So I don't need this anymore. The image is more for a reference to trace over. Some people think it's a terrible word to trace. Well, I mean, we're designers, we don't make art, we want to work fast. If we can sketch everything out of our imagination, perfect. Most of us can't. I will go to, let's say here, pen I delete because I had it. I just make a new layer, pen. The sorting is set to manual. Very good. Oh, here, delete this, just new layer. Then I will go to pen. Now I see the thickness is 3/4 of an inch. That is really big. So we can go down a quarter. And honestly, I don't really pay much attention to these numbers. When I start drawing, I just pay attention to how this line looks like. So I would like to very quickly sketch in, let's say a book rack. You know what I did in Shipper before, but this is now again where this comes in really super useful. My image layer that I want to lock. So with a finger, I double tap it and then lock it. Then I can go to this other layer with 2 fingers, zoom out, and I have the grid set up, so I can go to graph paper, that's fine, snap, align to the grid so it doesn't follow the grid exactly, allow trace back. I have to read the manual what that means again. Very good. And now I can think about, so there is kind of like maybe a picture frame. See, I aligned this up to there, 2 fingers, tap undo, and then this maybe is a 2-inch material. I can draw a line horizontally. So that's plus minus 2 inches. And draw a line. And here again, this is where concept is so cool. You see, I draw with the grid. Then I go to the item picker. I select this object. With a finger, move this over. With a finger, I can select this line, move it over. It snaps actually to that endpoint, which is not really what I want. So snap to key points, I turn off. There we are. And this line here now I will scale is turned off. Very good. But rotate we turn on. I will rotate this 90 degrees, turn rotate off, because now I can just put this down, select this, bring this down. Oops, wrong one. Select this line. Bring this to there. Select the line there. Sweet. Cool. Okay. So you see this way, that's what I meant, like in class. It's kind of like AutoCAD, but it's not really as cumbersome as AutoCAD. It's kind of like drafting by hand, to be honest. And then I could say, here, this line I duplicate, I click on this icon next to the paperclip. Stretch we turn on. What's the difference between scale and stretch? So stretch changes the size of the object, but it does not change the stroke thickness. I want this to be perfectly centered. Okay, here 100%. Oops, I need to turn snapping off. This is then where, for example, you turn snapping on off. There we are. And then here, make another duplicate. I was actually pretty close. And these sketches really live from being done fast. Don't do them too slow. Do them nice and quick. Yep, this is kind of like a totally silly book rack. But again, I don't want to make this lecture too long. So this was like a plan view. Kind of cool. Oh, we don't have a human person. Okay, so what can we do for the human person? We could type in human person. And let's see. Oh, don't want the skeleton. Okay, maybe human standing. That's nicer. Oh, by the way, dimensions.com. That website is pretty awesome. With a finger, I will press and hold and then swipe up, go to concepts and drop this one in. Because I would like to show you something. So this, let's say that is 6 feet 4 inches. How much is that in? How much is actually 6 feet in inches? 1 second. 6 multiplied by 12. Man, if America just would use inch metric. 72. So 72, 76 inches. That's, for example, my height. Okay, I will, with snapping turned on and measurement on, draw myself 72. So that line is as high as I am. Then I will scale that person. There we are. Very good. I will go back to the pen tool. I could sketch this one out. This is where the fill tool comes in to be very handy. So there's my fill tool. I had the white color. And I start somewhere tracing it. Oh, this looks like Atari games because I had the snapping for the grid turned on. And there, look. We have that person. Very easy. I think that took us maybe 10 seconds. So that person I can put onto a new layer. How do I move this to the layer? I will go to the selection tool, move this then onto the new layer. There it is. I can also make this figure a different color or change the transparency so it's more transparent. Put this to somewhere. This line I can delete. I don't need this anymore. This image I can put, maybe move onto the image layer so it's just on a reference. Why didn't it there? Oh, that layer is locked. So I tap on the screen all the time with my finger. This is why you also don't see things. So just keep that in mind. Cool. Now you see that now. Okay. How do we do something then in isometric? So the nice thing about isometric as a drawing tool is everything can be measured. So the height, and the depth. But I have a grid paper. That's not really very useful. So I can go to grid and then switch this one to isometric. There we are. Perfect. Yeah, it's kind of like all. Oh, by the way, I could go back. I'm isometric, edit grid, and now I could say spacing, let's say every 12 inches. So every grid is a foot. And then this way I have a good approximation of it. I can select this image. Oh, unlock this one. Then I move this one maybe to here. You see how I kind of like tidy this up. Lock this again. This was for humans. Double tap to rename it human. And here, for example, I call this sketch. Perfect. Cool. So when you now have the snap turned on and you go to a pen, now you see here I can draw, there's a line, there's a helper line, maybe somewhere there, this goes down. This box has to go over a little bit. This is 5 inches. Okay, there we are. So I very quickly block everything out. Now everything you learned about 2-point perspective drawing just applies to here. There's now the frame. This is too thin. This feels better. Beautiful. And then I can use the slice tool, for example, to clean stuff up. So this line we wouldn't really see. And maybe here, this we wouldn't see. And then I go to select this fragment and delete it. This does go, yeah, the rest we can maybe trim this down a little bit. Select, delete. There. Delete. Cool. Okay. No, there we see. It was actually pretty easy in this case to draw the different parts. Okay, class. Cool demo. Everything what you're doing here is a box. How do you do organic things? Well, this is then basically where you have to turn off the grid and the snapping, because now I can start sketching in round objects. Play with this a little bit more, as you can see. Okay, so with this, I hope I give you a little bit of an idea of how you can sketch something out in isometric view and also plan view or elevation view. I showed this here as an elevation view, but plan view pretty much would be the same. The next thing then what also needs to be added to it is kind of like you want to have the furniture a little bit scribbled out, the objects, and again, don't sketch everything out to be way too super detailed. If I go back to maybe here, let's say this sketch, you see there are things going on there. We understand. Even here, we see there's a table with 3 bar stools. There's 2 couches with 2 seats. So you don't have to draw everything super detailed. Forget all that high school cartoonish type of drawing a lot of us actually experienced, or then the pristine university life drawing stuff. It takes too much time. We're not doing art. We have to very quickly communicate stuff. Look at here how cool this looks with the furniture pieces and the humans there. There is the reception table and the human. No? So I would like you to experiment with this technology to create plan view, elevation view, isometric, or if you want, if you feel good about it, do perspective view. Scribble in the furniture. And again, if furniture objects are complicated to sketch, then in Shaper, build yourself basic geometrical primitives you could use as a perspective guide to sketch over. Because the thing is, things might change, and that's the reason why I'm proposing this process. Things might change a lot, so there's no point in spending a lot of time in CAD, 2D or 3D to model draft everything perfectly. And sketching in that case is indeed faster to scribble stuff out. I hope you also notice I say very often scribble, not draw. Quite nice and clean. Now, where concepts and also is pretty awesome is we can also add colors. We can bring in also images. So let me show you, for example, I'm just going to pull up Netflix. Netflix screen. Yep, there it is. And press and hold, go back to concepts, pop this in. There we are. So here, my my thing became a TV holder. So this is 2D, pretty easy. But how do we do this perspectively? I made a copy, bring this to there, move 1 point, and then I hold my second finger on the display to scale proportionally. Then I click on these 2 points, and then I can perspectively distort, and then bring this 1 corner back to where it roughly has to be. There, cool. Now you saw actually how easy it is. And then this way you can mix materials and also interface elements, product merchandise. And then when you also take this, later feed this into Viscom, for example, you inform it a lot more. Okay, I think that pretty much covered everything. The last thing that is important to talk about is also walk path plan view. Let me see if I quickly can find actually a good image. Maybe I should have looked one up earlier. Unfortunately, I don't see one right now. 1 second, maybe one more look. Interior design, walk path. Sketch. Shoot. It's okay. I can show you that actually in Viscom. Sorry, in concepts. So with something like this, now you see what is going on. There's a human, there's a TV, etc. Here is the room. Now the person could, for example, go in. And then you also want to identify how do you navigate this. And through illustration, there are different ways how to do it. So we could, for example, say somebody comes in the space, moves around, there's an activation point. We can add an arrow to it. Maybe a person goes to here, stops, continues. So this is kind of like what I mean with the walk path. You want to actually sketch out these types of navigations. And for the ID people, this might not necessarily be something that you're super familiar with, but bubble diagram, I think I will find something more there. So the bubble diagram is kind of like this idea of you have the space, this is where you enter, this is where you go to, this is where you stop, this is where you could see something. For interior spaces, this shows the relationship between different rooms, kitchen, bathroom, foyer, living room, and whatnot. We have an exhibit space, so we enter it somewhere. Where are the people, the staff, where could the visitors go to? And this is kind of like all done from the top. And some can be very, very loose. And others, for example, now here you start seeing this already. They show zones and then the arrows, and they basically identify how people could navigate that space. Or here, for example. Again, look up more references, Google more ideas how to style it. I only showed in this lecture something that is just very quickly. I try to be pretty short. However, these arrows I did here right now, they are really terrible. So let me delete those. We'll go to here, maybe smooth this a little bit more, and then take the time to sketch something out nicely. Now you see there, I try to make this line more parallel. Okay, 2 arrows there, for example. Now we could hatch those a little bit at the end. We turn off the dimension, for example, or we could go with a fill color. Fill something like this out. So you sketch first the shape of what you want to draw, and then you could, for example, fill it. But now you have to be a little bit more careful how to do this one. Let me, no, actually here, I will just select just the fill body. This is another fill tool. I will turn this into use also marker and airbrush. really feel free to play with those. I will give this maybe this color, and oh, the brush is way too big. There. So now here I very gently try to fill the interior space, and then with the mask tool I can clean up the outside a little bit. Just be careful that you don't draw over the part. And in case for somebody that is too much work, also what you can do is you just go the Shippo version and say, okay, so we make this really nice and big. Bzzz, there. But then those can also look very, yeah, looks more like a Python. Too flat, too round. This was actually not a great demo, but also good to show if I have an idea if it turns out. This dotted piece is also interesting because you can think about also color. So I go this way, go there. What maybe could be interesting is, you see I'm struggling a little bit with the smoothing. So there, there, and then there. Okay, now I have a reference I can actually sketch along. Now this goes back to what my professor said. Person wins is the person that knows how to work quicker with helpers. There, we're not artists, we're designers. Bonk, bonk, bonk. There. No, that looks cool. And then we can select this and, for example, say that is a nice beautiful color like this, or a blue color like this. Difficult to read. Maybe this one better. And then handwriting. Yeah, this is actually the last thing I'm going to say. The pen tool is actually really good for this. So I have this thing here. Where's this blue color I'm using? Maybe I use that one. Okay, I will change this to a lower quality. Now, I could just say, I'm just going to annotate this based on what we see here. No? So, for example, side, table, and then create this drawing. I could say TV, display. I'm drawing or writing on purpose terrible. You see they are at different heights. Again, this is now the cool thing about concepts. I rush this really a lot. So I go back to grid, turn on line paper maybe. So now I could say TV, display, side table. So I use actually the grid as a reference to do my annotations. And then this way I know they are all exactly the same height. Or in case I do not use this, then I can use this as a reference and TV display, just kind of like write everything in one line. There we are. Select this. So work table now is kind of like there. Maybe I put this a little bit also further outside. I find very often it is easier to very quickly redraw something than fixing stuff, and then a nice arc, nice motion. But where I'm really super picky is my arrowheads. So I select this, then there, select it, make a group, make a copy, turn scale off, but rotate on, and now I just position my arrowhead perfectly. Again, this is one of the great things of concepts. You can select everything and adjust it afterwards to make it pretty, while having a sketchy quality. Okay, very good. Let's keep it at this.